Welcome to the Immersive Calendar Integration and Digital Signage training video. The purpose of this video is to provide you with a full understanding of the calendar integration and digital signage capabilities of Solstice, including why you would use these features and how they can enhance the value of your Solstice deployment, what they'll look like when enabled, and how to set up and manage both through the Solstice dashboard. Solstice is a meeting platform designed to increase collaboration and productivity of shared spaces across organizations. By integrating a room calendar or digital signage on your Solstice displays, you can realize additional value from your pods when they aren't in active use for meetings, delivering additional ROI from your meeting spaces. The ability to integrate a room calendar on the Solstice welcome screen was a highly requested feature that Immersive released in December of 2017. The room calendar integration capability allows Solstice displays to show the room schedule on the meeting room display when no one is sharing content. Participants can easily see if the space is currently scheduled or available, as well as the next 3 upcoming meetings in the space. Immersive Solstice also provides digital signage playback, which extends basic HTML-based signage feeds to Solstice-enabled spaces, such as huddle rooms and transition spaces equipped with Solstice pods. When Solstice is not actively in use for wireless content sharing, the pod can automatically flip into signage mode with the ability to display virtually any HTML signage feed on screen, including video content. Then, when users need to collaborate, the display seamlessly returns to collaboration mode upon the first user connection. The Solstice admin can choose from 3 playback modes depending on what best suits their needs. And digital signage is easily configured through the Solstice dashboard, Immersive's centralized management tool. Let's get started by looking at how to integrate a room calendar with Solstice. The calendar integration feature is available for Solstice pods with Enterprise Edition licenses. Both pods and dashboard must be running Solstice version 3.1 or later. Calendar integration can be configured to support personal, delegation, or impersonation mailboxes on Microsoft Exchange or Office 365. Additional third-party calendaring software can be set up through the Open Control API. The calendar integration feature is easily configured through the dashboard using the modern splash screen mode, which I'll walk you through next. Calendar integration is enabled through the Solstice dashboard. First, select the pod that you'd like to associate with the account and enable the calendar in the Calendar tab. Let's look at configuring an Office 365 calendar first. Make sure Office 365 Online is selected as the calendar type. This does not require server information, just the user ID and password of the account's calendar to be shown on the display. If you use NTML authentication, you can change from basic to NTML authentication type and supply the appropriate domain. Click Test Connection to try for success immediately rather than waiting for the display to update with the information. If the chosen account has delegation or impersonation permissions, you can choose to show that calendar. If no delegation or impersonation account is provided, the user's personal calendar will be used. If you do provide delegation or impersonation information, that calendar will be used instead. Choose the correct privacy settings based on the calendar chosen and the location of the display. You may not want meeting names up in a public space, but might want them displayed within a private office. Now, after you click Apply, the next 3 meetings will be shown on the display. These will update, so as one meeting passes, the next meeting on your calendar will be shown on the display. Using a Microsoft Exchange account is similar to using an Office 365 account. Select the pod you want to integrate with a personal account. Enter user ID and password. You'll also need to enter the server URL. If you don't know what that is, you can find it in the Account Settings section of Outlook. You'll need to replace OWA with EWS and append with /exchange.asmx. You must complete this URL or the dashboard will report an error. You may choose to leave the associated display as your personal calendar or add a delegation or impersonation account to the display. As with any method, you may choose whether to show the meeting title or the meeting organizer and test your meeting settings in real time before applying the changes to push the calendar to the display. After you click Apply, the display will update to show the next 3 meetings on your Microsoft Exchange account. We recognize that not every organization uses Office 365 or Microsoft Exchange. We plan to add more integrations in the future, but for now you can just use about any third-party data using our Open Control API. For example, Google makes it very easy to run a quick script that extracts calendar data from the Google Calendar. Save that output to a text file, do a little parsing, and you can use our Open Control API to send that data to a display. To get your third-party calendar information up on the display, you must provide a start and end time in Epic Time, the meeting title, and the meeting organizers. Most third-party calendaring and scheduling systems have a similar way for you to extract raw text data, which is why this is a good, universal solution. If you have any questions, contact your IT administrator or Immersive support for assistance. Solstice will display the next 3 meetings on your associated calendar. If you're using a pre-built Microsoft Exchange or Office 365 interface, Solstice will only display data for today by default. If there's only 1 meeting scheduled today, you'll only see 1 meeting, even if you have a few more tomorrow morning. If you use the API to directly populate calendar data, it will always show the next 3 meetings in your dataset, even if they're not today. This can be confusing for users, so typically we recommend only showing meetings for the upcoming 12 hours on the display. Whether you choose to leverage one of our pre-built interfaces or leverage your in-room technology via our Open Control API, it's easy to get room availability information up on the display and in the user apps to enhance your meeting experience. Now that we've seen how to set up calendar integration, let's look at the primary use cases for which it was designed. By enabling calendar integration on your pods, any Solstice-enabled display can receive and display calendar data to show the schedule for the meeting space. This feature increases productivity by showcasing real-time status for the space and eliminating any confusion. If there are any conflicts, meeting participants can easily validate their bookings on the display screen. This feature allows you to view the next 3 upcoming meetings, motivating users to finish in a timely manner or extend the meeting if necessary and the space is available. And for better time management, open rooms can be quickly found with the Discovery tool. Next, let's learn more about the digital signage feature, which allows your pods to become dual collaboration and signage endpoints. There are some requirements to utilize this feature within your deployment. Digital signage is available for Solstice pods with Enterprise Edition licenses. Both pods and dashboard must be running Solstice version 3.4 or later. The digital signage feature is also enabled through the dashboard and leverages HTML-based digital signage feeds. I'll now show you how easy it is to configure this feature. First, you'll want to identify a pod that you can test and validate signage on to make sure it works before applying to your production deployment. Digital signage is enabled through the dashboard. Select the pod you'd like to configure and go to the Digital Signage tab. Here, you can enable the digital signage feature. And by default, the Immersive Digital Signage URL will populate in the source URL field. You can easily change this to a different URL that you'd like to point at for signage. Next, select the signage mode. Currently, it's set to run in full screen. However, Immersive doesn't recommend this mode because it doesn't provide any connection instructions for users that may want to share content to the display. We recommend footer and overlay mode, or footer only if your users are pretty familiar with Solstice. For this example, I'll select footer only. Lastly, you'll need to select how much time should elapse between when the last user disconnects from the display and when the signage starts. In this case, I'll set it to 10 seconds. After selecting all your options, click Apply. Next, you'll want to go to the room and validate that the signage feed plays correctly. It should come on and the signage content should appear on the display. Also, confirm that the signage feed plays all the way through and restarts at the beginning. As a next step, connect and share content to that display to validate it is still responsive. You'll see now that I'm connected. The signage feed stops and the Solstice welcome screen appears. I can share content to the display, rearrange the layout, and delete as needed. Now, disconnect your device and validate that the signage feed reappears after the amount of time you designated in the dashboard. Again, wait and let the signage feed loop all the way through and restart to double check that everything is working as it should be. The last thing to do when deploying signage is to ensure that an admin password is set for the pod, so nobody else can change the signage feed. To do this, go to the Security tab in the dashboard, set the admin password, and hit Apply. After enabling and validating signage on a single pod, you can now roll out to your broader deployment. Keep in mind, anytime you want to make a change to the signage feed, you should go back through the validation process to ensure signage is running smoothly. We hope that you find the digital signage feature beneficial as a value-add capability of your Solstice deployment. There are a handful of primary use cases for which digital signage is designed. With Solstice, digital signage can deploy into many types and sizes of meeting spaces, including huddle and transition spaces that may not have the budget for dedicated signage deployments. The digital signage feature in Solstice also provides seamless transition between collaboration and digital signage, removing the need for an either-or decision about which cases to support, bringing signage to collaboration spaces and collaboration to signage spaces. The Solstice Pod platform is designed to increase productivity, collaboration, and ROI of meeting spaces. Utilizing calendar integration and digital signage capability with your Solstice deployment provides additional value to Solstice-enabled spaces by leveraging displays between meetings in addition to supporting wireless collaboration. These features enhance the overall user experience and create consistency and customization across your organization. Thank you for taking the time to complete this training. Please subscribe to our newsletter if you'd like to receive monthly communications from Mersive, which will include notification of new features as they release.